Delivery of the Korniche. This is how it arrives. The glass, all the components, really well packaged. And all we've got to do now is sort them out, get them into the right order of assembly, and that's it. Guys have finished covering the roof and they've retiled all the way around the eave, which is really great as well. So we've got a lovely upstand going all the way back up. I've got a nice space to walk round the lantern now, as opposed to what we had before, which enables people like window cleaners to come up. It enables people to come up and maintain the roof, the chimney, and all the other important things as well. And indeed, we've still got a lovely bit of light going into this boot room below, so it's all really quite good. Now I've just got the little job to do to put in the lantern now. I've done a few of these Korniche lanterns before. They are super simple, but they're such a well-engineered product. Here is the box of parts, and I'll open that in a second. And now this is how all the components come, including the ring beams, which I've unwrapped. Everything is super well wrapped, delivered in couriers. In the box of parts, you get your installation guide, and everything's very straightforward. Something to note if you've done these before, I've just noticed that the bolts have been changed. So we've got 3 replacement bolts. So the old ones were threaded all the way down. They had a dome head. These have got a parallel flange head, and they are partially threaded as well. And I think that that was something that was just basically an improvement. People are always improving products. And then it's very straightforward to follow and put together. As I say, I've done a couple of these before. You always get packaging contents: eaves beam, ridge, hips and rafters. Eaves beam is obviously what I called the ring beam. So this is the eaves beam here. That's the first thing I install. And once I've got that together, I will carefully turn it over and I will place a silicone bead. The silicone bead goes in a particular position and all the way through the underside of the mitre. Once I've done that, I'll turn the eaves beam over. It's fairly straightforward, and obviously keep that parallel and square to my structural opening there. So that's it. I'm going to get all that done, then I'll unwrap the other bits, put it all together, bring the glass round, get the glass in, and we've beat the rain. We had rain forecast for today, but last night we got the rain early, fortunately. Now, we would like to have done this a bit earlier on, but trying to get everyone to commit to a booking on the same day. So Simon, who's really helpfully come along and done all the outreach for us. Obviously Ed and I are working together all the time. We also needed to have time to make all the components. We made all the components in the workshop, so that was good as well. So that reduced the amount of liability or time that we needed on site. So let's get on now and get the lantern in. So in the box of parts, the first thing I'm going to find are these corner brackets, and these simply slide into the section which joins everything together. And once they're slid in, that holds everything obviously nice and square and true, and gives us a little bit more help. So like everything mitered, just line the miters up, simple as that. So we'll get these round. And then once we've lined all that up, believe it or not, we use a cable tie. And that actually completely holds everything together. So we'll slide that in there. Pop it in there and get the other end done. So that's the part. That simply slides into the corner. So that immediately holds everything nice and square for you. And then once you've lined all of the miters up exactly, so you know you're somewhere near it, then we're going to take, as per the instructions, we're going to take those cable tie to hold it. Obviously once the whole frame's together, you know that everything will be absolutely solid once it's fixed down. So these are basically to hold it. So we're just going to pull them up somewhere near where they should be, and then I'll go around and make sure everything's nice and true and square before we give them a good tighten. That's it. Perfect. That's nifty. We should use these more in carpentry, I think. Joining stuff together, you'd be quite straightforward, wouldn't it? Yeah, they really do ratchet everything together lovely as well. Quite an amazing bit of kit, really. You can really line the miters up nice as well. That's perfect. So that's held those miters together beautifully.
So you can see the cable ties through and you can see how nicely everything's held together. So now it's a matter of
turning it over and getting the silicone in place. And I'm going to apply a generous bead of anthracite sealant. It's a really good quality sealant, this. It's still got some flex to it. And there's an actual groove just the other side of the screw line. Now that's where we get the bead, and we also go all the way through the mitre, basically there. Then we come all the way down here. And this is a bedding sealant. This is the only sealant we use. Put a lovely joint of sealant on there, cover all that in there, all the way along this joint. And the sealant gun runs real nice in there. And I reckon I think I've got about a 7 or 8 mil bead there. And that just allows it to sit onto your roof covering nicely. It's on the outside of the fixing line, so the fixing line's towards the inside of the building. And away we go. It's really straightforward. A good quality sealant is super important. It's worth getting out and getting some in good time. Because, you know, this is basically going to stop all the little bits of air getting underneath, and it's going to hold it down as well. So now the next job is make sure that your upstand's nice and clear, clean, dust free. And I'm going to set my frame over the top equally. Now it's still only got the temporary ties holding it together, so I want to just be as gentle as I can be with it. So I come to the middle. I know it's going to be sitting right on the edge, so I can do this. This is easily manageable on my own, this small lantern, and I can just carefully set it down like a door, just spreading it out where it needs to be, there, and dropping it on. Now, like all frameworks, it's good to make sure you're sitting nice and square. Square meaning all your corners are at 90 degrees. So recheck those mitres have held nice and securely and in line. Yep, that's great. And then what I like to do is measure the diagonals. If I measure the diagonals, they should be exactly the same. And I want to keep that like that until I screw my screws in. So we go there, we go here. That's absolutely square now. That's quite important, I think, for getting it all to work out nice. Then we can look at how we sit on your upstand here. Are we sitting evenly both sides? And indeed, it looks really, really nice. So the next part of the install, I have got the hips. I've just got 4 hips and a ridge here. And of course, the hip caps and the ridge cap, which we'll use once we've got the glass in. So it's a matter of putting this together. And now it's basically a slot together job. It's fairly straightforward. And you just got to line up the bolts and the components, put it together. It really does hold nicely. And then we lower the whole thing into the frame and join the bottoms to it. So it's really nice and straightforward. Here are the hips. There's 4 hips, obviously, to that into this end. 4 caps for the hips and the ridge cap. I've assembled the ridge and the hips. I've got them into the sill, if you like, and I've attached those. So it's super straightforward. The bolts and everything that comes with it is just perfect, basically. And once you've done that and you've bedded it and it's all nice and flat, straight and level, square, you fix it down using the screws that are supplied by Korniche. They're a pan head. They're ideal to screw straight down through the sill into the subframe and hold it down. If, for example, the flat roof covering is uneven, where it's lapped and joined, make sure you shim it and keep the frame or the sill nice and flat, okay? The eaves beam needs to stay nice and flat. If you pull it out of straight, for example, you may have a bit of trouble when you put the glass in. Now, that's my next job. I'm going to start with the 2 little end ones here. It's fairly straightforward. So on the end of each of the glaze units, you have a very nice section, which basically gets pushed on with a rubber mallet, and you keep it nice and central. And then this is what actually connects everything together. It's a very, very clever bit of kit. So we're going to get that on and show you what that's all about. So the glass, let's take the first of these. Now the glass has
units have stickers. Now the stickers indicate which side should face the room. It's really important because in our case we've got a self-cleaning film on the outside. So we want to take off all of the little blue pads, and then we're going to put on the bottom section. Okay, so the inside, that's the outside. Okay, so with the sticker on the inside, I can see that I've got a very similar amount either end, and that's a good start. Okay, and then it's just a matter of pulling it onto the unit, rubber mallet, and it's a really nice fit. You can hear when it's up, and it should be parallel. That's key. It should be parallel. Okay, so that then is basically slotted in. Nice positive connection, and that holds it exactly where it wants to be. Now we're just going to repeat that process for every single piece of glass. So a little tip when you're putting on the bottom section. So I've got my glass with the side that's facing in towards me, okay, and I'm then taking this section here with the gasket and the section that locks into the sill or the eaves beam, and all I'm going to do is just literally hold that on and make sure it's exactly with the corners, because what you don't want to try and do is slide this backwards and forwards once you've actually got it in. So I've got it held at an equidistance from either end of that nicely produced unit. Then I'm just going to roll it until I get the edge to catch, and then it's just a matter of easing it on. Okay, now in good British style, I have a little bit of rain, but it's nearly there. And as I said, there's no silicone in the installation apart from the bedding on, so it's not like I can't do any siliconing. Now I can ease that backwards and forwards along its length with a rubber mallet. I think the weather's been good to me. It's nice and warm, everything's sort of, you know, moving nicely, and then that's ready for final positioning. Now when you're positioning, you basically want to take the unit, put it up against the ridge, lower it down, and then there's a section here which is going to lock in to the sill or the eaves beam. So I'm going to lift it up, I'm going to carefully place the top, again looking at it's up against the ridge but nice and true, and then lower it down, and it will just literally locate itself. I mean, isn't that super simple? And they're so well engineered and put together. I mean, very rarely do I get excited about making something or doing something, but when you've got a product which has been so well thought through, designed, packaged, making the installation for me out on site, I mean, for the end of the day, it started raining, I'm not panicking, I know I'm all right now. All I have to do now is get the last of the parts out, which involves some friction fit dowels that hold a cap on, and then we've got some nice cover fillets. So it's a really straightforward job. Let's get those done now. I mean, check this out. This is how the parts are actually packaged. I mean, it's just brilliant, isn't it? I mean, look at that. So well packaged, so well sort of looked after. So it's just a matter of now is putting all of the sections in. So this is the ridge cap, and this is a tap fit, and then what it says to do is get it equidistance. Again, it's just good experience to look down and see. In my case, I'm going to keep this section here the same distance off both ends to that, so I'm going to pull it that way, and that's about right. Now it's not going to take a lot to push that on. Okay, check the gaskets are all perfectly in position, and you can click it on. So once it's on, you can tap it with a mallet left and right, but it's nice to get it right first time. So I've got that nice and true. Then the next job will be to put on the hip caps, so they then clip on as well. These have like a slot, so you know they're the right way up. Okay, so the bottom has a slot for another fitting, so you know that when that is at the bottom, you're in the right position. That's it. So again, keep that flush with the bottom and push it on. And it's as simple as that. There's no fighting. You know, these things just go together amazingly. Whoever comes up with these designs and then makes this stuff is absolute genius, if you ask me. So with the bottom and click. What a positive fit. Beautifully secure as well. I mean, this is just design and engineering at its best. If I had to choose a top product of the year this year, it would probably be the Korniche. Oh, I just hear that, so satisfying. Right, okay, so we just got to put the top caps on. Again, nothing to it, no mechanical fixing. It has got this beautiful engineered aluminium darts which will press into those sections there. So what we need to make sure is that we've got cover there, and they are going to go straight on, and that is an absolute dream, if you ask me. So we're going to make sure it's got cover, drop it on. Oh, that is so satisfying. I mean, seriously, that is so satisfying. Fine, okay, so now all we got to do is put the hip end sections on, which consist of a really neat little section here. Now these, believe it or not, have been engineered with a plastic, how can I put it, a barbed plug which holds them on. And once you've put those on with the barbed plug, you then slot one barbed plug into here and the whole thing pushes on. Again, no concealed fixing. So we'll get those on now. That's the last job then. Then I can start doing clearing up and going home. So these basically clip on underneath here. We take a small, I'll show you the fixings. It's a clever bit of kit. We take this now. There's 3 of these per corner, 2 in that little section and 1 in the actual hipped end fitting. So it also locks over the top. I forgot to take out the temporary cable ties, so they are a temporary thing. So they come out now anyway, so I can put those out. And then we're going to tap these in. Super clever, super clever. Then we're going to put one inside here. I'm going to slot that in there. And it's interesting that it's on a slot because you need to pull it onto the top of here and then you're going to tap him home. And that is absolutely spot on. So that is the job complete. Now it's been a pretty epic day. And as I said at the beginning of this piece about roof lights or roof glazing, it's really important that you factor so many other things into roof glazing, especially rainwater. We're becoming a country that is going to get excessive rainfall, just as in other parts of the world. And in this case, we've got 3 roofs all cascading down onto what was a beautiful lantern, if you like, or roof glass, but there just wasn't enough places for the water to escape. It had a really nice gutter, but the glass was touching the tiles, it was filling up with debris, and after a few years that filled up and the water just cascaded and came straight in. What we've done is completely redesigned it, so we've got a proper flat roof with an alwitra membrane. It's a welded membrane, so it's homogeneous, so once it's welded together it becomes one. It comes right the way back up the first couple of courses of tiles, so it's got a really good upstand. This will take a lot of water. Now, talking about upstands, we have got an upstand for this roof lantern, and it's no less than 150 millimeters. So at the rear of the roof, at the highest point, it's 150 millimeters, and at the front, because there's a fall, it's about 180 millimeters. And it just means that if something blocked up, if this was in parapets, for example, the water is not going to fill up and go over the top. Or if you had plenty of snow and the snow was hard and the lantern, it's not going to thaw and make its way in.
So that's it from me. The job's finished, the lantern's in, we've got an upstand, we've got a really nice serviceable edge that we can walk around. The window cleaners can safely clean the windows. We can access the roof slopes for maintenance. And so I just think that's a much better thing. Now, yes, we've reduced the glazed area, but the light it allows into the boot room below is perfect. I mean, it's we've got less metal because the last one had a lot more rafters than this does. The Korniche is a really beautiful, sleekly designed. You've seen it go together. It goes together perfectly. I've installed this single-handedly. All the other guys had to go home, and it's been an absolute dream. So thanks for joining me. If you're in the market for roof glazing, check out the Korniche. It's a professional product, and it has been designed with ease of installation and quality in mind, and I think that's not bad.